Before you wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow, before you pour your fourth coffee, before you grind through another 16-hour day that leaves you exhausted and somehow further behind, I need you to hear something the productivity industry has spent decades burying. Hard work, as you've been taught to practice it, is not a virtue. It is a symptom. It is what you do when you don't understand the system well enough to do something better. Every hour you spend grinding without leverage is an hour you are choosing exhaustion over intelligence. And here's what's actually at stake. Someone working half your hours is building 10 times what you'll ever build. Not because they're more disciplined, because they think differently. That difference has a name. This channel exists to decode it. Pillar 1. Incubation. The most misunderstood tool in human achievement is doing nothing. In 1878, Nikola Tesla was walking through a Budapest park reciting Goethe from memory when the complete design of the rotating magnetic field appeared in his mind, fully formed. He wasn't at a desk, he wasn't running experiments, he was walking. Edison, during that same era, ran over 9,000 physical experiments to find a working filament for the light bulb. 9,000! His method was brute force. Tesla's method was mental simulation. Both men produced remarkable things, but only one understood something the other refused to accept. The brain does not solve its hardest problems while you're staring directly at them. This is not philosophy, this is neuroscience. Researchers at the University of Amsterdam found that complex decisions involving multiple variables and uncertain outcomes are made more accurately by the unconscious mind after a period of deliberate distraction. The prefrontal cortex, your conscious hard work engine, has a narrow bandwidth. The unconscious mind runs in parallel. It connects more. It delivers answers without being asked. Poincaré wrote about this. Darwin scheduled it. Einstein called his long, unstructured thought experiments the source of every real breakthrough he ever had. The first pillar of cognitive leverage, the solution already exists inside your mind. You haven't found it because you haven't stopped looking long enough to let it surface. Pillar 2. First principles. Here is where most people lose the game before they've even started. There is a difference between reasoning by analogy and reasoning from first principles. Almost everyone you know reasons by analogy. They look at what already exists, what already works, what everyone else is doing, and they iterate on it. It is efficient, it is safe, and it will never produce anything the world hasn't already seen. First principles thinking is different. It is almost violent in its approach. It asks, if I stripped this problem of every assumption, every inherited solution, every received wisdom, what would remain? What is actually fundamentally, irreducibly true? Elon Musk applied this to battery costs. The industry consensus was that batteries were expensive and would remain expensive. He didn't accept the consensus. He broke the battery down to its raw material components, cobalt, nickel, carbon, priced them on commodity markets, and discovered the actual cost floor was a fraction of what manufacturers charged. The perceived ceiling wasn't a ceiling at all. It was the accumulated laziness of an entire industry's thinking. First principles doesn't work harder within the existing frame. It dissolves the frame entirely. The critical question is never, how do I do this better? The critical question is, why does this need to be done this way at all? Every system you've inherited was built by someone whose constraints no longer apply to you. You are not obligated to honor their limitations. The second pillar of cognitive leverage, genius does not begin with effort, it begins with interrogation. Pillar 3. Selective laziness. This pillar will offend the most people, which is exactly why it matters most. The highest performing minds in history were, by conventional standards, profoundly lazy about most things. Darwin walked for hours daily. Bertrand Russell claimed never to work more than 4 focused hours. Feynman was notorious for sitting in bars doing mathematics on napkins because the absence of expectation freed him completely. What these men understood, and what hustle culture will never teach you, is that attention is finite, and every task that doesn't sit at the intersection of your highest leverage and deepest capability is intellectual self-sabotage. Warren Buffett was once asked about success. He pointed to a list of 25 goals. Identify your top 5, he said. Now look at the remaining 20. Those are not your second priorities. Those are your active avoidance list, compelling enough to consume your time, not important enough to change your life. A 2021 study from the University of Toronto found that individuals who deliberately limited their task load to high-complexity, high-reward work outperformed their busy counterparts by measurable cognitive output margins, not because they worked more, but because they depleted less. Selective laziness is not the absence of ambition. It is the most aggressive expression of it. It is the refusal to spend cognitive capital on anything that does not compound. The third pillar, protect your attention with the same ferocity a genius protects their greatest idea, because they are the same thing. Here is what we know. Hard work is not the enemy. Misdirected hard work is. The geniuses throughout history did not work less because they were lazy. They worked less on the wrong things because they had a ruthless clarity about what the right things were. They incubated, they interrogated, they protected their attention as though civilization depended on it, because in their minds it did. The genius principle is not a personality trait. It is not a gift you either have or don't. It is a discipline of strategic thinking that can be learned, practiced, and applied to any domain of your life. You were not born on the wrong side of intelligence. You were handed the wrong operating system. The next question is obvious. Once you've stopped grinding at the wrong problems and started thinking at the right level, how do you build a system that runs without you? That is the subject of the next video, and the answer requires understanding something the 19th century's greatest industrialists accidentally discovered about the future of automation. It is not what you expect.